All right, guys, what is good? Welcome to another clip from the Foodie Filmmaker. I've been getting a lot of requests, a lot of people pleading, a lot of people asking me, Louis, where's episode one? Where's the original episode one, right? We don't want 1.5. They do want 1.5, but they want episode one, the real one, right? The one where I messed up, the one where I made the mistakes. Um, People want to see it. There's been some demand for it, and so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it in this video that you're watching here. As you can see, the length. Obviously, I'm not gonna be talking about what happened there. I'm just gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put the clip here. It's pretty long. And it's long because I'm gonna let you guys look through the whole thing. All right, only half of that podcast is available in video. Like I said, the other half got lost. It's not completely lost though. The audio is still available, and you'll get to hear the audio version there for the rest of the podcast. But for the first 30 minutes or so, I'm not sure how many minutes it's going to be after I edit it because I'll still do the edit. I'll still clip the audio from that came from the mic and put it together with the video that was shot. But other than that, the first half of the podcast will be video and the rest will be audio. I just need to let you guys know that it doesn't look the best right now. It's actually looking pretty nice, really, really nice compared to how it looked that day. But like I said, it was basically the test session, um, episode one. I was trying to nail it right from the get go. I was trying to get episode one right just from the start. It didn't happen, but things like these happen when you're just starting something off from the beginning, and so that happened. But without further ado, enjoy the original, the raw. I was gonna say uncut, but it's not. It's actually cut. But I won't cut that many things. I'll cut just like the pauses and the weird ums and the parts where I basically was gonna say something and then I forgot what I was gonna say. So then I had to take a few seconds to gather my thoughts and then I went at it again. So other than that, you'll get to see everything. It's very similar, like I said, to episode 1.5. There's a few things that I said there that are different from 1.5. There's even things that I said there that I completely missed to say in 1.5. They weren't that important, but you'll see if you saw 1.5. You look at this one, you'll see that there's a couple things I missed. But without further ado, enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below, and I'll definitely see you in the next podcast episode. All right, what is good, everybody? It's your boy, the Foodie Filmmaker, here coming at you, episode one, the Foodie Filmmaker Podcast. All right, so this podcast doesn't yet have a name. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to name it, but for now, we're just going to call it the Foodie Filmmaker Podcast. I'm just really trying to get this started, get it rolling, and then we'll see, where it goes from here. So please bear with me. Um, this is the first episode. I'm still kind of nervous, still kind of letting this whole thing sink in. So this is basically the intro. This is basically going to be episode one, as I said. I have my iPad right here. I did write down a few things pretty much that I want to cover in this first episode. It's not going to be much just because it is the first episode, so I just kind of want to get a feel for it. So please bear with me here. So, pretty much getting into the first episode expectations. Just, there is nobody here with me right now. We don't have any guests or anything. I will be talking about that in a little bit down the episode right now. But for now, we don't have any guests. We have nobody in this room. It's just me basically talking to you guys here on the camera, and that's pretty much everything we need, right, to get started. So let's go ahead and do this. Let me get into my past podcast experience. So, is this the first podcast that I ever do? Sort of, yes. It's the first one I do with professional equipment at an actual place that has the resources to do a podcast. I have done a podcast in the past, and I will put some clips up right here, so you can see the the prior podcast experience that I have done it before. That was a different kind of podcast, though. It was more like a personal development based podcast. So I pretty much talked about, growth, success, how to achieve the things that you want in life, how to be happy, and stuff like that. And it was cool. It was in my previous job. And as you can see from the clips, it wasn't just me, it was me with my boss, who was my boss at the time. It was my previous job. That's where I did it. It was called Develop Your Mindset Podcast. I'm actually not sure if they may be watching this. If you are, shout out to you guys. The name of the company was Kabarti Jewelry. I believe it still is. And so it was there that the podcast took place, and the podcast was called Develop Your Mindset Podcast. And so it was a great podcast. I believe I took it up to 100 episodes, but like I said, it was with my boss. So we pretty much shared the screen time there. You were able to hear from both sides of the spectrum. Him coming in with a lot more experience in life, and me coming more like the new guy, the young generation type of deal. And so I had a different kind of advice to offer to a much younger audience. And so it was cool. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was a good experience. But eventually I left that job, and eventually, that podcast had to come to an end. And so I haven't done one ever since. But I've been looking forward to doing one ever since, because I always thought the experience was fun. It was exciting, except that there was, as with every podcast, maybe you've seen a few other podcasts on YouTube where you see 2 to 3 people involved in the podcast, and then you see like that one person in the podcast where you're like, hey, that person kind of doesn't fit, they don't fit the vibe. And so that person eventually ends up leaving, and they kind of end up starting their own podcast. I kind of felt similar when I was doing that podcast, because I felt like there was things that I wanted to cover and I wanted to talk about that were more personal to me, but they just didn't really fit with the podcast. I kind of had to just stop and move on. But yeah, so there's that. That's kind of my past podcast experience. I'm really happy to do this one right now. It's only been a few minutes, but I'm already liking it a whole lot more. I mean, if any of y'all watching, from a previous job, shout out to you guys. It was an awesome experience. So what can you expect from the podcast? So basically, here I want to talk about food, of course. Being I'm the foodie filmmaker, and I also want to cover stuff with film. So basically, we're gonna be talking about food. So anything that's coming out, new food that's coming out, and just food in general. The foodie kind of community and stuff. And also, I want to cover things about film. So if that's something that you're interested in, you want to learn more about like what kind of equipment to use, or how to film better, stuff like that. I definitely want to cover more of that. So it's gonna be cool to kind of share my ideas and really hone in on certain topics that you know cover those kind of things. So definitely looking forward to that. But you can definitely expect a lot of like food stuff. In this first episode, obviously, I don't have any food with me right now, but I hope to probably have something to munch on, in future episodes, just to like kind of, set the mood for the podcast. Make it more like foodie style, and possibly even have some film stuff. We'll probably have like definitely I'll bring my a better camera for the next episode. This one I'm just using my phone. I just wasn't aware that the room that I'm in currently right now didn't have that. So like I said, first episode thing. So I'm still learning and still trying to see what they got here and what they don't. And but yeah, that's pretty much what you can expect from this podcast. So we're just gonna be talking about food and film, since those are the things that I love. I'm very passionate about those things, and I really want to share those things with you. So it's definitely something that I want to talk about and stuff. So yeah, let's talk about guests. I mean, yes, I did say at the beginning of the episode I was going to talk a little bit more about it. So now let me talk about that more here. Yes, there will be guests coming in, and join me, and we can have conversations. Like I said, I mean, it wouldn't really necessarily be a podcast, if I didn't have any guests, if I didn't have anybody with me here to also share their ideas and stuff. I could only say so much. If all the episodes are just me, then eventually I'm gonna run out of things to say, and eventually gonna run out of topics, and probably you guys will probably check out. So I really wouldn't want that. So I'm definitely gonna be bringing in guests. So any of you guys watching, if you guys are interested in being a guest here at the Foodie Filmmaker Podcast, please be sure to let me know. You can either leave that in the comments below or just send me a direct message or call me. However, whichever way you're in contact with me, just be sure to let me know that you want to be in this podcast, and we'll work something out. We'll be able to bring you in and definitely have you share your thoughts, your ideas, whatever you want to share on this podcast. And yeah, it'll definitely be fun. Of course, there are guests that are a must have on this podcast, and those will be the guys at Reactive Media. So, all my guys at Reactive Media, I'm pretty sure you guys are watching this. So, shout out to all of you guys from wherever you guys are watching. Yes, I will like to have eventually the entire team here. Will that ever happen? Eventually, I would like to have the entire team here. We'll figure out a way how to fit everybody here in the room. But yes, I do want to have everybody here and possibly have each reactive media member show up here individually, and then we could just have like a more personal conversation. But yeah, so shout out to everybody at Reactive Media. For those of you who don't know what Reactive Media is, that's basically my social media agency. That's how it's called. So if any restaurant right here watching, you guys need some social media management, content creation, stuff like that, be sure to hit up Reactive Media, right? Hit us up on Instagram, on our website, wherever it is that you find us. Be sure to hit us up, or you can just hit me up directly, and we'll be sure to have you taken care of. Whatever your needs are as a restaurant, you need some promotion or anything like that, we got you, all right? So Reactive Media. So shout out to the boys, Michael, Andrew, Thomas, and of course myself. And basically, I mean, shout out to everybody who has supported me all along. There's definitely been those foodies out there who have uh, followed me and supported me ever since I started, and I really appreciate all of your support and everything that you've done for me. It's I definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the support of most of you guys that have joined me on this journey. And of course, I gotta shout out all the restaurants. Thank you very much for all of you restaurants who have let me film, who have allowed me to collaborate with you guys, because it's been fun. I mean, I love it. Every time I go to a new restaurant, I'm always excited to, of course, try the food, but also be able to go in there and film. And every restaurant, of course, offers a different aesthetic, different vibe. So it's always a different experience when filming. And I love that part of my job, as well as just eating the food. I always think it's always a fun part because it's a new experience, try new food, or sometimes you get into the debates of like, oh, who makes what food better, right? And so that's always fun, and always enjoyable for sure. And I think that's what really keeps this job fun, and I always look forward to doing that all the time. So yeah. So there's that. So for the first episode, what I would really like to talk about is kind of my background and how I started in this whole foodie space, because I've been a foodie ever since I believe it was 2021 or 2020. I'm not exactly sure. I would have to really think back and see when exactly I started my actual foodie page of the Foodie Filmmaker, which wasn't called that actually. By the way, when I first started, it was actually called the Almighty Lewis. Uh, which that page still exists to this day, but now that's became my personal page, and so I use the Foodie Filmmaker to promote all the food stuff. But yeah, yeah. So it's definitely been an interesting ride. When I first started, I will say I have always been a foodie to heart. Even before I started my foodie page, I remember just ever since I've been a kid, I've always wanted to go out and eat at new restaurants and just try new food. And I definitely do remember myself like really putting in the time and the effort to try new places, and whether that was by myself, and most of the time it was by myself. I know most of you watching, you probably rarely ever go out and eat by yourself, especially if it's like a fancy restaurant or something. Back in the day, I would do that, but pretty much just go and like try out new places, and they didn't necessarily need to be trendy. It was just, there's that restaurant in the corner. It looks pretty cool. It looks the food looks interesting. I definitely went and tried it, and there was no collaborations at this point, so pretty much. I would just go and pay for my food and take pictures and upload them on. I would normally upload them on Google or Yelp, and that's pretty much it. It was just pretty much pictures too. I got into the video stuff later on, but at first it was just pictures, and then little by little, I started getting into Instagram and stuff like that. But that's pretty much where it all started. I've always been a natural foodie ever since I can remember, and I pretty much just brought that passion into the foodie filmmaker. But yeah, yeah. So it all started with a restaurant in downtown Los Angeles, which is where I live. So the name of the restaurant is Garo's Deli. So shout out Garo's Deli. They have some amazing, amazing sandwiches. So that's pretty much where it all started. So I was working at my old job in downtown, and Garo's Deli was one of those delis that was about to open. So it was a newly opened deli, and it was close by, and I was like, I want to go check it out. It looks cool. The sandwiches look pretty good. They look promising. So they opened, right? And then on one of my days that I was taking a break, I decided to go and try them out. So I tried one of their sandwiches. I thought it was really good. And so I kept going back there, but I wasn't really creating any content around there. I was just supporting, it was a new spot. I liked the sandwiches. They were pretty good. They were solid. So I kept going back and trying new sandwiches each time, until one time I decided to make like a small little video, small little clip, just kind of highlighting the sandwich. And I posted it on my social media. And of course, I tagged them. At the time, I just had a little small Instagram. It wasn't like crazy or anything. I don't think it's still crazy anyway. I mean, I have like 5K or something on Instagram, but right now. But yeah, yeah. At the time, I only had like 100 followers or something like that. And so I posted it, and they really loved the video, even though that was just still like the beginning of the foodie filmmaker. The video did not look like the way that my videos currently look right now. And so I uploaded it. The owners really liked it. And so one of the owners actually invited me back. He's like, "Hey, if you ever want to come through, we'll hook you up with some food and just make us a cool video and just post it and add as a collaborator and stuff, so that the video appeared on their page as well." And so to me, it was a cool deal, because it was the first time that I was ever offered such a deal where I could get free food in exchange of content, which was it was just kind of cool. It was mind blowing because all this time I've been paying for food, and so now I actually got to get the food for free, and I got to try it, and I didn't have to pay anything for it. And then I also got to create content around it, which I was pretty much gonna do. It's something that comes natural to me. So creating the content was like, no, it wasn't really a hassle. It wasn't really like any extra work that I had to do. I just kind of did it, and it was cool that I was able to get free food out of it. But yeah, so that happened. That was cool. That was awesome. It was a cool experience, and then I kept doing that until eventually that restaurant ended up hiring me as their social media manager, and that's kind of how it started. So this was even before I even had a personal page where it was just all focused on food. So I was hired by a restaurant, by a deli, to run their social media, and then after, that's when the whole I decided to become a foodie. That was kind of later on. The restaurant wanted other foodies to come through, So now I actually had the chance to meet a lot of you guys, a lot of food influencers, food bloggers who are out there who have their pages. I was responsible for really contacting them and having them come to the deli and like basically offering the same thing that I was offered when I first started this. So I basically told them, "Hey, you want to come through? We'll hook you up with some sandwiches in exchange. Just kind of post something on your feed." And so that's how I basically started meeting a lot of the food bloggers are in the space, and most of them that I met through Garo's Deli, I still know them to this day. Unfortunately, most of them, I would say, actually fell off. They don't create any food content anymore. Some of them basically kind of moved on, and they kind of became content creators in a different space, which is cool. That's respectable. But yeah, I met a lot of great people, and through all that contacting, it was basically where I first started my foodie page. It's when I met a group, which was like a there's a lot of food groups nowadays where like a lot of foodies kind of get together and they decide to like kind of promote as a group, so everybody in the group will kind of go individually to pretty much promote the place. And so I met one of those groups. I met the guy in charge, who I will not say who that is, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you, some of you, obviously you guys know because you guys know me in person, so I've told you the story of what happened there, and I will be sharing that story sometime in the future here in the podcast. But for now, just know that there was a guy. He was in charge. He had a group of like foodies who would go out and promote, and so he was the guy, pretty much the face of the group. And basically, he would reach out to restaurants and be like, "Hey, look, I have a group of foodies who are ready to pretty much promote your restaurant. All you gotta do is pay a certain fee, and basically, I'm gonna start sending out these foodies for you. You don't have to pretty much contact them. Kind of like what I was doing. I was contacting every single food influencer one by one. So basically, this guy just kind of facilitated that work for the restaurant, which basically he already had all the contacts. And so basically the way it worked is that he had his group, and once a restaurant pretty much signed on with that group, he would basically just send an email blast, and pretty much everybody in the group will get the invite for that restaurant. And so every single food influencer that's part of that group, they got the invite, and then they went whenever it is that they were able to go. And so that was pretty cool. And so at the time, so the reason why I'm not mentioning the person is because we eventually had a fallout, and that person eventually blocked me. But like I said, I will be sharing that story sometime in the future. But just know for now that that person blocked me, so I will not be mentioning who that is. But basically, I did end up joining that group, and so I did get a few collaborations at first from that group, and it was cool. So eventually, I realized I didn't really need to join the group in order to get collaborations. I realized that I could just pretty much, approach the restaurants. I could send them a message and basically be like, "Hey, you know what? I'm a food blogger from Los Angeles, and I'm looking to pretty much collaborate with with um with any restaurant that gives me the opportunity to, and I'd be more than happy to create content for you." And and I never mentioned that I wanted the food for free, but most of the restaurants that end up giving me the food for free, there was some restaurants who at the time didn't really believe in me, so I basically had to do the collaboration and still pay for the food. But that was okay for me because I was still under like 1,000 followers, and I was still starting off. And I was okay with that because sometimes you just need to get started. You just need to get your foot in the door. You need to do whatever you need to do in order to get yourself out there. And I feel like most foodies don't do that nowadays, even if they're just starting off. Like they just kind of expect the free food just because every single food blogger out there gets free food, and somehow they feel entitled to the free food now, and so they just resist to pay. I was never like that. I always said, there was a place that I really wanted to collaborate with, and they just didn't want to provide the food for free. I would just go and pay for it, and I'll still make the content. And there was places where I did that, and they saw the content, they liked it, they hit me back. They're like, "Hey, you know what? We like what you did. Come back another time, and we'll actually hook you up this time." And I was more than happy to come back, and I got hooked up, and that was cool. And so yeah, that's basically how I started, and then that's basically what I did. And now, of course, I've grown a lot more than what I was at the time. So yes, I do have some restaurants who hit me up, which I definitely appreciate that because at first I rarely ever had that. I rarely had any restaurant ever reach out to me. It was usually me reaching out. I would spend I would spend a lot of time. I would spend like hours literally reaching out to restaurants. I would work on really crafting my message so that I had the best chances in order to get the collaboration. But now I appreciate the fact that I have a lot of restaurants reaching out to me. There's a lot of social media groups and companies and who are hitting me up as well. and they're asking me to film their clients. So I'm very, very appreciative. I actually try to do as many as I can. As you guys know, you guys have seen my page. I upload basically every single day. So I actually try to go to as many as I can. But I mean, it's tough. It's tough. Because not all of them are close by. So pretty much, I try to basically get as many collabs as I can in one single area. If I know I'm going to be in that area, I try to get as many as I can in that area. And so yeah, but if you're a restaurant watching this, you hit me up and I still haven't gone to your restaurant, believe me, I'll eventually get to it. I saw your message. Just know that I will I will eventually go. You just got to give me some time because I am busy. I have a lot of places to go, and it's not just the collaborations that I do now, but I also, I own part of a reactive media, so I have a lot of work there. I have clients there, so I need to take care of the clients as well. And it's a lot of work. So there's definitely a lot of ups and downs, when it comes to like the paid stuff, because eventually you grow to the point where it's like, okay, like I'm not just gonna go out there and create content just for free food, like eventually get to the point where free food is just not enough, and so you need to get into the space of charging and stuff like that. So if you're a food blogger and you want to learn more about how you can negotiate prices and how you can and see which restaurant you should be charging and which you probably just shouldn't because they just can't afford it, or some you could shoot for free, just because that restaurant can connect you to another restaurant which can actually pay you. So, I can share more tips about that in another episode and just really hone in and give you some really good tips as to how you can do that and how you can craft your messages and stuff like that. But just know that that is a possibility out there. Eventually, you'll grow your page to such a degree where you want to start charging, you want to start making money. I do that once in a while, but I still like to keep it humble, and I still hook up a lot of restaurants with free content just because I love what I do, and I love the space that I'm in. And like I said, I'm not in this space just to make money, but I'm also in this space because I love it and I want to support a lot of the restaurants that are out there, and I want to be able to create content that looks cool. And ultimately, I want to create content that makes every restaurant pretty much look cool. I want their food to be highlighted in a way that's very appetizing to not just the food bloggers and other restaurants, but to the customer, to the everyday person who doesn't do this, every single day. There's people working other kinds of jobs, and they're on Instagram, and possibly you follow me or something, or you follow another food blogger, and those everyday people, they're just scrolling to their feed, and then they see interesting places they could potentially go eat at. And so I feel our jobs as food bloggers to highlight that food and make it look as appetizing as possible in order to convince that person that, hey, you know what, this is a legit place, this is a good place for you to go and eat and spend your money. Some foodies in this space kind of take that for granted, because they're doing a lot of collaborations and stuff. And so, most of the food that you consume at this point is free. So, you're not really paying for much of it. So you kind of take all that food for granted, but just be aware that, there's people who are not in this space who still have to pay for their food. So it's your job to pretty much highlight that food in the best way possible in order to convince that end customer to go and spend their hard-earned money because they're working some other job. And so, and who knows, maybe they're not very happy at the job that they're at, and so at the end of the day they just want to go and eat at a good place, they want to have a good meal to that may be their highlight of the day. And so you want to be able to highlight that all the food that you eat, and you think that is good enough to put on your page, highlight it in the best way possible. And that's really how I see it. I mean, there's other foodies who have other ways of seeing it, and you'll hear from them when we have them here on the podcast, of course, as guests. But yeah, that's basically how I see it, and so that's basically where I'm at right now. So that's basically where I started. Not much has changed. Like I said, I still hit up some spots that I really want to go to. I have spots that hit me up, And like I said, I have other agencies who want me to hit up their clients, and I love that. I love to support everybody here in this community as much as I can. Now, of course, there's always fallouts. You can't always please everybody. Sometimes you have fallouts. You have people who just don't like you. But I think that that's kind of normal. Like in every pretty much in every industry, in every space, you're gonna have those people who just don't like you, and so you just kind of have to be okay with that. But whatever, you just keep doing what you're doing, and if you love what you're doing, don't let that kind of energy just stop you and stuff. And just keep going, keep doing your thing. At the end of the day, if you're happy with the stuff that you're doing, that's all that counts. So that's basically kind of like a little gist of my background. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I covered right now in my background that I will go into more detail as more episodes come out. But just basically the general idea of how the Foodie Filmmaker got started, and kind of how it's going. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much excited for any upcoming topics. Like I said, I'll try to think of some topics that I think are cool to discuss in this podcast. But like I said, it's the first time I'm gonna run a podcast just on my own. So if you guys have any ideas, any topics that you would like for me to cover in this podcast, either it's by myself or you want me to bring a guest and cover that topic with that guest specifically, then please let me know in the comments or just reach out to me personally. I really don't mind either or. And just let me know what kind of topics you wanna hear from me, or you just want me to talk about. You want me to discuss, or you guys want tips. Like I said, I will be talking about food, so either that could be the food space, or not sure actually about making an actual food review in this room, but that may be a thing actually. I still gotta ask if that's something that I can do here, but that would be cool. I could actually review a certain dish or a certain place, a certain kind of food that you want me to review. I could do it here on the podcast. That'll be kind of cool. It'll be like a kind of like a live type of review, so you'll get to see like everything. I won't do any cuts, no edits. So it'll just be like a solid review, and I'll talk too as well, letting you guys know how I feel about the food itself. And so that is something that we could do. But I'm open to ideas. So please let me know. Like I said, down below in the comments, or just hit me up. I'm definitely open to topics. And like I said, if you're a guest, you want to be here in this podcast, definitely let me know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I think we're reaching the closing of this episode. I really don't have much much left, I would say. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to get this podcast started. I know a lot of people take a lot of time to plan this out, and I definitely didn't, because I was still a little nervous about starting this podcast, just because, like I said, I'm an introvert. I don't really as many of you know me, I'm pretty much a quiet guy. I don't talk much. It's not like I'm out there, trying to be the center of attention or anything. And usually when I'm in a group setting, I'm the one who talks the least. I mean, I usually talk if I'm asked to talk. Somebody asks me a question or something, I'll talk. But other than that, I'm not gonna be approaching a bunch of people and be like, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing?" With all that stuff. That's just not me. I'm, like I said, I'm more of I'm an introvert, so my specialties come more in the back end. So when it comes to like editing, the filming stuff, which is why I love doing what I love doing it. So that's why I do that. But still kind of processing. But so far, I think this has been really really fun. I have truly like enjoyed every single part of this experience here doing the podcast. I think it's like really fun. I did schedule myself to do this for an entire hour, but after the edits, because there was a lot of there's a lot of things on this episode that I'm gonna have to cut out, just because I feel like they just don't look so great. I made a lot of mistakes and stuff, so I'm gonna cut those out. So probably the end podcast is gonna be like around 30 minutes or something, just because. Basically it's short, and this is going to be a lot of stuff that I'm going to cut out, just because, I'm still figuring out what I'm doing. But hopefully when I start bringing in guests, there's not going to be that issue anymore, and I'm going to be able to, kind of have less of that, and so the time of the episode is going to be a lot longer. And so yes, this is going to be more of a long form type of deal. You'll pretty much get to know me a lot more deeper. You'll get to see a lot more of the foodie filmmaker himself. As you can see on Instagram. On Instagram, I don't really talk as much. There are some videos where you'll see me do something funny or something. You'll see me like do like a skit or something, or sometimes I'll talk about a certain like whatever the food is. You'll see me talk, but it's not very common. For the most part, it's just me filming the process of the making of whatever it is that the food is. And at the end, you'll basically see what I call the finisher, right? So that's basically how you finish with the product. So depending on what the product is, if it's a sandwich, it might be like a nice highlight of the sandwich, like something like that, like a little like maneuver where you maneuver it. If it's like a soup, like ramen or something, maybe you'll see like a lift of the soup, and that'll be kind of like the finisher of that. Or if there's like some sauce involved, you'll see like the pouring of the sauce and something like that, and that's basically considered the finisher. So that's kind of how you finish like on a good money shot, basically. So you leave a good impression. So, and lately what I've been doing just to kind of add personality to the finishers is that basically I'll just eat it. So whatever it is, I'll take a bite, or if it's a drink, I'll take a sip or stuff like that. And so that's pretty much it. And like I said, for the most part, you guys will be able to choose a lot of topics that are discussed here. Of course, there are some that I want to do, so I'll do those whenever. And possibly there's going to be a lot of crossovers. I don't think I'll be unless it's like a very important topic. I think there's gonna be like a most podcasts. I'm gonna be covering a lot of like topics all in one. Unless it's a very serious one, then the whole podcast is gonna go into like that one topic. But that's probably because it might be like a tutorial or something like that where I have to break down a lot of stuff, and so I'm very excited to do those because I really love the informative type of videos. Those are the ones that I personally have the most specialty with. Like I said, I've done a podcast, like I said, with Kabarti Jewelry, the Develop Your Mindset podcast. It was basically me teaching you guys how to actualize your life and how to basically grow as a person. And I showed a lot of methods, a lot of mindsets. And mindset is another thing that I will talk on here, that I will be sharing with you guys throughout the episodes. And the type of mindset that you might want to take on if you want to join like this space. Any upcoming foodies watching this as well, maybe you've been thinking about starting your own food page. So that's definitely something that I will share on this podcast. I'll show you how to get started. We'll definitely discuss things like equipment. I know my guys at Reactive Media, they tend to give me a little bit of trouble, when it comes to equipment. They're not very fond of my daily driver, which, if you guys didn't know, my daily driver and the phone that I use to film the majority of the videos on my page at the Foodie Filmmaker is a Google Pixel. It's a Google Pixel 7 Pro. I would show you the Google Pixel 7 Pro, but it's actually the phone that I'm using to record this. So this episode is being filmed on the Google Pixel 7 Pro. But that's my daily driver basically. So basically that's the phone that I take with me to every single shoot that I do, every collaboration, except for Reactive Media. I've had to switch back to the iPhone just because that's kind of the look that we want to give to our clients. That's what the clients prefer, and I'm okay with that. I guess it's cool. It's cool, but yeah, we'll definitely discuss equipment. So what phone should you use, and definitely editing softwares that you can use, and different styles and different ways of editing your content, because all that stuff is really fun. And that's the like I said, I'm an introvert, so that's a lot of my time goes into that. So it's into like the editing, and picking the right stuff, the right equipment, the right software. And of course, you want to use your phone to edit, you want to use a computer, you want to use a PC, you want to use a Mac. We can discuss all of that in future episodes. So definitely looking forward to that. I am coming to the end of the episodes, and I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking through it if you did. Um, and if you skipped all the way to the end just to see, how this pretty much ended, whatever, man, whatever. I still thank you for doing that, for still clicking on the video, for still watching. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm looking forward to more episodes. This is just episode one. Definitely a lot of things are going to change for the second episode now that I know a lot of things, about the place that I'm at. So, like I said, I'll probably have a different camera next time. I'll probably have a different angle, I'll be wearing something different. And yeah, definitely like the way the place looks, it might change a little bit. So I'll bring probably like a lot more like stuff, that I wanna decorate the place with. And so yeah, there's gonna be a lot of that stuff. So basically, appreciate the way it looks because, even though it doesn't look the best, it's still the first episode and it carries something special, of course. So that's basically it. I mean, thank you very much. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Basically, thank you very much. This was your boy, the Foodie Filmmaker. Thank you for watching episode one, and I look forward to seeing all of you guys back here for episode two. Thank you.